If you're an avid crocheter or knitter, you know how quickly your yarn stash can grow. And if you find yourself in that position, you will need a system to keep that collection in order. And today we're going to explore how to organize your yarn stash with a twist. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to reorganize my yarn. Hi, I'm Elise from the blog LePetitSaintCrochet.com, and I have identified 5 different yarn stash personalities. And we're going to examine how to organize your stash based on those traits. When I became a crocheter and a knitter, I had no idea how quickly my stash would grow. And before I knew it, I was drowning in skeins of yarn and struggling to find the right weight or the right color for my project, which is exactly what happened just the other day and led me to try to figure this problem out for myself, and I thought I would share it with you as well. Just so you know, I am preaching to myself when I say it is vitally important that we have a system for organizing our yarn stashes because it will save us time and money. No more accidentally purchasing yarn that you already have in your stash. And no more wasting time hunting around looking for that one skein of yarn that you know is in your stash somewhere, but you can't find it anywhere. But this isn't going to be your ordinary run-of-the-mill yarn stash organizing video. We're going to dive into our individual personalities to figure out which system will work best for our own personality traits and styles. First, let's look at the 5 different yarn stash personality styles. You've got the planner, the minimalist, the maximalist, the collector, and the eclectic. Let's start off with the planner. The planner is the type of person who buys yarn with a purpose. You know these people, they like to plan ahead. If they're getting ready to start a new project, they have already calculated how much yarn they're going to need so that they never end up with a different dye lot in their colors. Planner types also anticipate which projects they're going to be working on throughout the year. They also know when the big sales are happening and they plan accordingly. The planner already has a good yarn organization system in place and probably doesn't even need this video. So if you are the planner personality type, please leave your secrets in the comment section below. I am definitely not the planner. The next yarn stash personality type is the minimalist. The minimalist is the person who only buys yarn for the projects that they are going to be working on at that moment. Minimalists typically don't need much of an organization system because their stashes are pretty manageable. Most of us start off in this category, but then somehow, some way, we end up in the next 3 personality types. The next personality type is the maximalist. Everyone knows a maximalist. These are the type of people who are full of fun and they have a ton of yarn. They don't need a reason to buy yarn. If they feel like it, they get it. They may also be one of those lucky people who score large amounts of yarn at charity shops and garage sales. They can be very extravagant with their budget, or they can be very frugal. And they have every intention of using all of the yarn in their stash someday. Sometimes maximalists are organized with their yarn, but many times they feel overwhelmed with the amount that they have. The 4th type is the collector. The collector is similar to a maximalist, but they are a little more discerning. These are the types that love to splurge on unique yarns, especially when they're traveling. If the local yarn shop dyes a special collection for an event, they will be the first in line to get it. The collector does crochet or knit, but they also collect because they just want to have that yarn in their possession. They don't need a reason to have the yarn, and they don't have to buy yarn for the sake of utility. And the 5th personality type is the eclectic. I predict that most of us fall into this personality style. We have a little bit of all of the other personality types. We like to plan, but we also end up with yarn in our stash and have no idea where it came from. Some of our yarn might be well organized, but there's almost always a part of our stash that is hidden and a bit of a mess. We plan to use the yarn we have in our stash, but sometimes we end up purchasing yarn because we love it with no project in mind. Now that we know all of the yarn personality styles, it's time to decide which organization system will work best. Here are 5 different ways that we can organize our yarn stashes: weight, color, brand, project, or fiber. One of the easiest ways to organize your yarn stash is by weight. This means to separate your yarn based on the thickness of your yarn, and you can look on the back of your yarn label and it will normally tell you in words like worsted, DK, fingering, bulky, or it might have a number like 2, 3, or 4. And when you separate yarn based on weight, it's easier to find the yarn that you need for a particular project. And if you have some yarn in your stash and you have no idea what the weight is and you've lost the ball band, make sure to check out my video about Dollar Tree yarns, and I will leave it in the description box below because I show you how to do the WPI test, which is called wraps per inch, and that will help you to know what weight yarn you have. Here is the benefit of sorting your yarn by weight. If you have a lot of different yarn weights like worsted and DK and bulky, this is a fantastic way to get them all sorted. This is perfect for those personality types that are the planner, the maximalist, the collector, and the eclectic. The next way to organize is by color. Organizing by color is a popular trend on social media, and it works great for some yarn stashes. This can be particularly useful if you have a lot of different colors in your stash because it's going to help you to find that color a lot easier. And you can sort by color family like blues, greens, or yellows, or by individual color like teal, sky blue, and navy. There is literally nothing more beautiful than seeing yarn sorted by color in this way because it can look like a gradient of color or a rainbow of color, and it is so gorgeous. Here is the benefit of sorting your yarn by color. This is a wonderful way to organize your yarn, especially if you use a lot of one particular weight of yarn. For example, if 99% of all your yarn is worsted weight, this would be a fantastic way to sort your yarn. Organizing your yarn by color is best for these personality types: the planner and the collector. Organizing by color is definitely not going to work for everyone, but for those that it does, you're so lucky. I wish that it would work for mine. Another great way to sort your yarn is by brand. This works best for those of us who have a lot of one type of brand in our yarn stash. Keeping it all together ensures that you will have the correct weight for any project that you're working on. I really love this system for yarns that I use a lot of, like Premier Basics, Barocco Vintage, and Paintbox Wool Mix Aran. One of the benefits of organizing your yarn by brand is that you will always know how much you have of your favorite yarns, and you'll also be able to tell when you're running out of your most used colors. Sorting by brand is best for these personality types: the planner, the minimalist, the maximalist, and the eclectic. Organizing your yarn by project is another great way to get all of your yarn sorted. This works especially well if you work on a handful of different projects and you know exactly which yarns work best for those projects. If you only like to work on a handful of projects like amigurumi, socks, hats, or shawls, this would be a great way to organize your yarn. Here is the benefit of organizing your yarn by project. This is great for those who either don't have a very large stash or you really enjoy a handful of projects and you're going to be making them over and over again. And one of the reasons why you may make those items over and over again is because you either sell your finished objects at craft fairs or on Etsy, or maybe you do a lot of charitable knitting and crocheting and you're going to be making that one item over and over again. Organizing your yarn by project is best for these personalities types: the planner, the minimalist, the maximalist, and the eclectic. The last way is to sort your yarn by fibers. This is especially good for those collectors who have very versatile stashes and want to keep them all separated. You can sort by wool, cotton, acrylic, alpaca, and mohair, just to name a few. Sorting by fiber is beneficial for those who really have a lot of different types of fibers in their collection, and they love natural fibers especially. It's perfect for these personality types: the minimalist and the collector. The next thing you need to decide is whether you're going to display your yarn, store it away, or do what I do and have a combination of the two. This will definitely depend on your personality type, but it's also going to depend on the space that you have available to store your yarn. Here are the benefits of displaying your stash. This is a great way for those of us who love to see our yarn out. It leaves us feeling inspired to crochet and knit. This is also a great way to be able to keep track of what you have in your stash and know if you're running out of your favorite colors or your favorite brand. Or if you have way too much of that particular kind of yarn that you're never going to use, but you keep picking it up every time you go to the yarn shop. The benefits of storing your yarn away are for those who especially feel overwhelmed with visual clutter. It's also really practical if you are having to store your yarn all over your house in different places, like under the bed or in a closet. Now I'm going to actually go through the process of going through my yarn stash. Some of it is already organized, but I've got quite a bit of it that is just kind of hidden away and is a jumbled mess, and I need to do something with it. After going through this process myself, I've discovered that I'm an eclectic and that I am going to organize my yarn by weight and by brand. But I'm also going to add a little bit of the color organization. I'm going to see if I can pull that off because I love that idea, but I just don't think it's going to work for my particular yarn stash. So come along with me. I'm going to see if I can get this done this afternoon because some of my yarn is already organized, but a lot of it isn't. So I just want to get everything put together and make this space look great, but also be really functional. It's finished and it took me way longer than I thought it was going to, but it turned out a lot better than I thought it was going to as well. I ended up separating my yarns by brand and by weight like I had planned, but I played a lot more with color than I thought I was going to be able to do, and I absolutely love how it looks. I feel like when I walk in here now, it's like my own little personal yarn shop and my yarn is sitting out. Couple things surprised me. I thought I had a lot more of certain brands of yarn and a lot less than others, and so I was kind of surprised to see how much of this is all Paint Box Wool Mix Aran. I don't know why, I had no idea I had that much, and then I only have a little bit of my Barocco Vintage, which is what I love, so I was kind of surprised about that, but I'll show you around and just give you the tour. I'll show you exactly what I did. This is where some of my favorite yarns are, all of my Paint Box Wool Mix Aran. I also have a little cubby right there, which is where my hand-dyed yarn and just some hanks of yarn that I had. That one is just kind of a little miscellaneous group of yarn, and then this is all down here. This is the Premier Minikins, and I tried to set them up really pretty and they kept falling over, so it really wasn't going to work out. But I love how this turned out, and it's just so cheerful and colorful. This is my Barocco Vintage, and I thought I had a lot of it, and I actually don't. One thing that really shocked me was how much of this Rowan Kid Silk Haze that I have. I don't know how I ended up with all of it, but it's beautiful, and so I'm displaying it. These three little cubbies right here all are just random yarns that I ended up with that don't really have a lot of any, so I just decided to put them out in just a rainbow color, and I think that they look really pretty, and I'm happy to see them even though there's not a lot of one brand. This is all Premier Anti-Pilling Everyday Worsted. I didn't realize that I had that much of it. And then this is the Premier Basics Worsted, and I love how they just look like flowers to me. And of course, as I was going through this, I just moved around some of my books, some of my finished objects, and I just love it. I think it turned out really pretty and cheerful. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and let me know in the comment section which yarn stash personality you have, and I hope you all stay safe out there and happy stitching.